This is an excavator. It's for digging holes. It actually has a bucket on it. It's a 35G John Deere. And as we profile some of the tools we're using for this particular project, this is what I was using yesterday. And you can see my handsome picture in there. This is good for digging holes and getting stumps out of the ground and trenching. By the way, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. This is what we use to trench out the bottom bund that we're working on down there. I could not find an Earthworks video that showed you how to do this, by the way. There's an Army Corps of Engineers manual that shows how to build terraces and forest roads. And then there's also a couple forestry management books that come out of different states. But there's actually a system for doing this. All these bumps and holes and compaction areas can be avoided as the project progresses. But when we're digging dirt, we're doing it with the excavator and the bucket here. Now you might see a wide bucket, you might see a narrow bucket. This is kind of a narrow bucket with a grapple thumb so that we can pick up these stumps and take them up out of the ground. And I had one hole 6 foot deep trying to get a stump out that was much larger than I expected. And we have the stabilization. This blade on the front here is for pushing around dirt and also stabilizing the bucket when we're digging. But this particular piece of equipment here is perfect for what we're doing in tight spaces, because when you get two pieces of equipment here in a dump truck in and out, it gets a little tight. So I used the excavator to dig a trench, mound that soil at the base, which will be the foot of our terrace, and then tracked it in. Now you've seen this excavator doing work on the market garden, building out terraces there. What we're doing here for the gravel pad is very similar. And you know, we're not doing a lot of videos. So you want to learn how to do this kind of stuff, you come out on site and you do it. You don't sit on a couch and watch a video. You don't learn how to do something, sit on a couch. In fact, I watched so many videos to learn how to use this equipment, what the different functions were, the different levers. And I still, until I got a couple hours on here, still felt less than novice. But you can see they have foot pedals to move you forward and backwards, left and right. You can also move it by hand. You've got a joystick on one side and a joystick on the other side for the actuation of the arm here. And when you're trenching or you're... So one thing that was explained to me several times is the efficiency of the dig. Every time you scoop, you want a full bucket of soil. You want to be pulling layers off of the surface. Now again, I'm introducing you to these things as a novice. I have probably a good solid 3 hours on this machine. You know, it's not going to be until 100 hours before I'm going to know the feel and things. I made a joke yesterday that I was doing the Macarena because there was this one set of movements that was really helping me scoop out a lot of soil and get it moved. And so what you're going to do is you're going to scoop the soil out and put it in front of you, and then you're going to track it in a little bit to give yourself a stable platform. This thing needs a stable platform to work on. If you get something, the arm too far out with something heavy on it, it'll tip up on its toes. If you have, you know, you're too far back, for example, you're working on a hill, it is dangerous. It's a little top heavy. But the point I want to make here is this is an appropriate size piece of equipment here for grubbing stumps on a small space. So we're working in this small space here, and we're grubbing out stumps, and we're moving materials, and we're getting things clean, because the bulldozer or the skid steer doesn't just scoop up stumps. You know, so this is a big stump I got out of the ground right here, and you can see how there's a little bit, well, he scooped some soil, but there's a little bit of compaction. But check this out. That's the thing I pulled out with that machine there, and I was kind of pushing its limits once I had it up in the air, because if I put the arm out, it would get up on its tippy toes, and you do not want to do that. Another point too with this particular piece of equipment is if you're putting in water lines, if you're putting in, you know, you're clearing a fence line, you're clearing drainage ditches, this is a solid machine for that. Now it doesn't the bucket doesn't turn left to right. So you do have to make sure you're aligned well to get yourself a good scoop to get things out of a drainage ditch. If you're moving small rocks and such, this is the machine to do it. So we're able to get this site clear with a diamond brush cutter that cut the trees and shredded those, the skid steer with a bucket, and the excavator with a bucket. And we're able to get, oh, and a dump truck, and we're able to get most of this stuff done. Now the key thing is I get out here every morning to make sure the tools are ready, to make sure we have grease set up. These machines do require maintenance, and before you go out and buy one of these machines, very often they're available for rental, but I don't understand why they rent it to consumers, because you can roll a track off one of these things. It's not that hard to roll a track off of something or to get yourself in an awkward situation. I have had, it was about an hour of formal training on this particular machine, not this specific machine, but on a machine like this, an excavator like this. And I had about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes of specific training on the skid steer. And that was enough to let me know that I wasn't gonna rent a piece of equipment for a week without having somebody else on site for safety, or without having kind of a bit more experience. So if you feel overconfident with a machine like this, you need to get more training and get in. You want to make sure that you're symbiotically working with the machine and you're using it appropriately, or you will be in a heap of trouble when something goes wrong. And then of course the walkthrough inspections, maintenance. One of the things I'll do when I come in here, and I haven't been told to do these things, I just know from being around equipment, is that you're going to inspect everything. Like this is a little stretched, but it's not a big deal. I'm looking for gobs of goo that have kind of leaked out. I'm looking for puddles of oil or liquid underneath the vehicle. I'm making sure the lights are off when I leave the site. So this is kind of maintenance stuff that you want to be aware of. Anyway, probably the reason I don't see a lot of videos of people doing excavation work is because this is usually something you're going to hire a contractor to do. And when possible, I want you to use the land management and the project management methodologies that we're teaching you about earthworks projects, and you hire a team. Like this particular project here, you can see all this exposed soil. As soon as we get that this bund, and I'm going to do a second video, so check it out, but I'll show you what we're doing at the bottom there. As soon as that's done, this equipment is just going to do touch up, and then we're going to get it strawed and seed it, hopefully before any kind of rain comes in. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead, www.prosperitymhomestead.org. If you want to learn how to manage land projects, how to be more efficient with your homestead, and ultimately get that dream done now. It'd be better to enjoy the dream than it is to struggle getting it built. I show you how, we show you the methods and techniques, and we get you the results as soon as we can, as soon as possible.